Hola, ¿qué tal amigos? Victoria Ortega aquí con Voces Latinas del Valle Central. ¿Y qué creen? Nada más y nada menos, aquí tengo el día de hoy con nosotros a la mayor de Riverbank. Oh, look at her! So, the reason why we're doing this interview, it's a different game. No va a ser igual que todos los interviews que ella ha tenido, porque no nos estamos enfocando en quién es Rachel, the mayor, sino quién es Rachel, la que decidió ser mayor. So, welcome, Rachel. It's
Thank
a
you.
great pleasure to have you on board here today. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself to your audience here.
I never get this opportunity, and it's typically, what the qualifications are or your priorities, for mayor and that kind of thing. So I'm a little new to this, to talk about myself.
To having fun.
Right. Where do you start?
You start by telling people like, okay, so my name is Rachel. And I was born in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Remember? Well, just a little side note. We met when Rachel was little. We were neighbors.
It's full circle.
Full circle.
But here in the community.
Yes.
And that's what's exciting about it. So, both my parents are immigrants from Vietnam and from Mexico. Okay. And being the oldest of my siblings, it's that responsibility that you have. That's I started telling myself that leadership is really built at home. You're responsible already, especially in first generation, to kind of lead and to help navigate different things. And then yourself, no one tells you how to go to school or financial literacy, wellness and all those things. So it was a lot of lessons, learning. And when I ended up going to junior college, I was trying to figure out, what I wanted to do. And, in a Latino home, was majority Latino home, you're out on your own and just figure it out. Figure it out.
La chanclada. Yes. Let's go.
And so, I was like, okay, well, what am I interested in? And for women especially, it's doctora o maestra or, something.
Ama de casa.
Yes. And
you're there to wash the dishes.
Exactly.
But not anymore.
No, that's real.
It is.
And, but I found a political science club and I just started kind of going and exploring it, and the ability to educate yourself, to get involved and to kind of take back some of that power in places where you don't see yourself was
that voice.
Just, huge for me. Mm-hmm. And so I started doing it. I started getting involved. I'm very introverted. I'm a very shy person, I think. And but I think that lends itself well for this, for the public space. Especially now where we're seeing so much chaos.
That introspective.
Yep. People see that, they want to be listened to. They want to talk, and they want to be heard without judgment.
Correct.
And so really I'm just pulling from my childhood and from growing up and being a big sister. For my family.
And I think that's one of the beautiful things about you as mayor today is that great responsibility that you have because you lived it at home. So it just shines. It's like when I see you outside of, the norm here, I see you and you're like, oh, let's change this, and that hunger for change, and that the little eyes shine that you can see, and not everybody gets that. And that's a passion that it's not learned. It's basically earned through your childhood experiences, through who you are as a woman in our community, as a Latino leader. It's that responsibility that, okay, I was not heard, but let me have everybody else being heard. So I commend you for that. And then just tell us a little bit more about you. Okay, so you found that political science, and then you found your voice. So then after?
But what was amazing about all of that is it wasn't just my voice, it was bringing everyone else with me. And I think that made the introvert in me feel a little better. I'm not going to be alone. We're going to bring everyone with me, because I started getting involved in campaigns, and it was a collaborative effort, all of us believing in one person or one value and really like fighting for that. The candidates I worked for were Latino. I mean, Jose Hernandez was one of the ones I worked with in 2012.
Oh, wow.
And we worked, oh my gosh, 7 days a week, always talking to residents and our Latino community, trying to get them involved. At the end, we lost. And it was lessons, right?
Yes.
The lessons we learned on like, okay, this is where we are. And, how can we improve? Because it's not going to end with Jose or one candidate. Mm-hmm. We had to keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Wow. And as we were talking a little bit off the camera, the lessons are what build you, the person, build Rachel. What would you attribute was the biggest lesson growing up that said, okay, I want to embody this? Or who did you look up to be like, because a lot of the times, believe it or not, and it's going to sound, we don't have enough, and I'm not, I don't do feminism, I don't do all that stuff, but we don't have enough leaders that are women that we can look up to and be like, oh my gosh, I want to be like her. So who and what drove you to be like, okay, so this is who I want to embody?
Yeah. But there's a saying, and I wish I remembered it now, about, why would you go to the spaces you don't see yourself in? It's, I think part of it is, and maybe it's the competitiveness in me, that, you want to be in those spaces. You want to push, like when people tell you, and they've told me, wait your turn, you're like, well, I've worked so hard, to be qualified enough. When you run for office, you got to be 18 and register to vote, and that's it. Yeah, I mean, I came into it with my master's degree, with all this volunteer work, working in nonprofits, and still it was like, I'm not like good enough yet. It was, so it's a little bit of both. You want to see people like you in those spaces, but also it's like, I worked hard to get here.
Yeah. And it's funny enough that you mentioned that, because I was listening to this podcast right before we got here, and it's the Chronicles of Confidence. So if anybody out there wants to listen to her, she's amazing. Her name is Erica. And she was talking about, when we have that imposter syndrome and that authenticity. And she said, it is unauthentic when you want to become somebody you're not. When you shut down your voice to let other voices talk to you and let you be who you want to be. So, it goes right along with the lines that you're saying. Why am I going to be quiet if I don't want to? And how can I take the space that I'm meant to be taking? So that's beautiful. And, I commend you for a lot of things, maybe because I'm looking at the little girl that I met back in the day, but I see so much growth, and I see so much beauty, and those eyes reveal, that hard work that you're talking about, that voice that you have inside, that you're basically shining onto our world and our community, the Latino community. Tell me, what would you say to the girls that are following your steps?
Oh my gosh.
Or what would you tell that little girl that we met? What would you tell her?
First, I would, I guess to, like you said, like, trust yourself, I don't think any time where I've made a decision where I'm trusting my gut and everything that's led me there has steered me wrong, I put my best foot forward in everything, and I give it full effort. And even if, I get pushback, or maybe I could have done things differently, I think at the end of the day, I'm like, I gave my best there. And so I can't regret that.
So, and like we were saying, basically things are not happening to you. Things happen for you. So when we look back, literally we can see the things were happening for you, because look at now you're here now. You're you're a big old part of the community. You're making history, and and that to me, it's the most authentic thing you can do to that little girl that was looking at you saying, hey, how are we gonna make it out of here? So
oh my gosh,
I know I don't want to cry, but it is sentimental, and a lot of the times we forget that even though you are our mayor, you do have dreams still. You were a little girl, and for those little girls that are watching this, or that are gonna watch this, you are that person that they might want to embody. So what else would you say to them?
Oh my gosh. And it's not even there's different goals, and it's not mayor or a city council member, but it's like just being in the room, like having your voice be heard. And I think as I'm kind of leading some efforts in immigration right now and knowing your rights, and I think it could be, unfortunately, I don't know how to say it. It could receive some pushback, but in all of it, like we were just saying, you're authentic in who you are and what your beliefs are. And so, as I'm going to this, as I'm like talking about people knowing their rights, and at least being aware of what's going on in the political climate, it's coming from an authentic place, and so it's never to be someone I'm not.
Right.
Yeah.
And then through all of that, again, we keep on saying that, but we can't stress it enough. A lot of the times when we think we're losing, we're winning, because we find out how not to do it and how to do it better.
Yeah.
So I feel that in life experiences, that's what you're doing right now, even though it might get some pushback. Hey, how are you not going to do it, or how are you going to implement it to become better? So I'm loving this. This is amazing. I don't even know what else to ask you besides, what are the family values that you want to see in your community, and what do you want to revive? I know Riverbank is a city of action, and it is the city of action, and for a lot of years it was a great community to live in. But not only Riverbank, but the Central Valley. So what do you want to see in our values to be brought back in our families here in the Central Valley?
I think that, we again offline we were talking about how that's almost a skill to learn how to lead in a healthy way, how to make decisions, but also receive critiques in a healthy way, how to hold each other accountable. I'm thinking through my personal relationships and how I've grown, how to be okay having uncomfortable conversations, and and having different opinions too. Because though Riverbank is smallish, it's 26,000 people, but being in a position where you have to make decisions that represent the entire city, that
makes it a little bigger, right?
It's not easy, because everyone has a different opinion. People on one hand love Costco, on the other
they're like, oh my gosh, pollution and this and that.
And it's changing our community, and it's not what it used to be. And so being able to bring forth, the collaboration and the engagement, so that people trust enough to talk to me, to tell me when they don't agree with something that's coming to the city, but to and in turn for me to be able to make the decision that reflects them, or to talk to them about, I don't agree, but this is why, and maybe we can figure out some solutions for you along the way. So I don't ever think it's black and white.
No, there's always a gray line. Yeah. And I think the values that I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the fact that, a lot of the old school, new school leadership and in the homes and the values are very, very much, this is the way it should be, and this is how and it's just very dominant, one-sided. But what the values you're trying to bring is the open door policy, like the getting together and looking for a better solution, one that will benefit both old school and newer school. and bring up in more healthy community.
Yes.
If that's said well.
Yeah, no, I think if we can talk to each other,
right,
and we're connected, then that's a win, you know?
Most definitely.
Then we can't, even if we disagree, I think if we get along and we talk, then we podemos convivir todavía, you know?
Yes.
More
togetherness, más juntos, más unidos, más unidad. And porque todo empieza en la familia. Like it all starts in the family. And a lot of the times, you know, when people say family, it all starts in the family. They want to picture the picket white fence and the 2 cars outside and the good job and the mom staying at home. But a lot of the times it's not like that. But it helps when it's not like that to build leaders that definitely will bring up those values that are the healthy ones, that can diversify, per se, you know, the way we see the perfect household.
Yes.
So I don't know. I probably am talking a whole bunch of nonsense right now, but it is amazing to have you here. What is next for Rachel? Not so much the mayor, but what are some of the things that Rachel wants to accomplish, not as the mayor or as the community leader, but the woman, the little girl, the person?
I think what has been the most fulfilling through all of this, through my nonprofit work, through volunteering for other campaigns, and then running my own, has been kind of bringing people into spaces where they're not used to being. I mean, I get so many conversations with people, both, you know, younger and older and everything in between. I mean, I was with a gentleman who's in his 70s yesterday who probably lived a way different life than I did, but we were able to connect and kind of, you know, build that mutual respect, you know, in what we do and how we lead. So I think leadership, just for me, transcends all. You know, it's in any space that I'm going to be in. I hope to continue to lead, but to have people next to me too. So the running for office, the elected office thing, is definitely not like a career plan. But I think it's allowed me a platform, you know, to be to bring people into spaces.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So when you step down, if you step down, and when you step down, how do you see yourself? Who do you see yourself being?
Oh my gosh. Hopefully the same person. I'm in a good place personally, I think. Like we've talked about healing and going through our journeys, and even the family values you just mentioned is not, you know, something we exactly grew up with. You know, we learned it and we build our own families, you know, and hopefully in the future I will build a family with those values that, you know, I learned along the way and from other people, like, you know, you. So I don't know. I'm so used to goal, you know, accomplish, okay, next goal. But I think I've just always wanted to be true to myself through all of it.
And that's the most important part. Well, you heard it all. We're not going to keep her today for so long. I mean, we can talk here and we can sit down and take a cafecito with Victoria forever and a day, but we will bring her back and maybe we can talk more about the community and what you're building in Riverbank. And what would you say to other leaders out there? You know, how would you invite them to be part of just small groups, not the bigger groups? Because I feel like that's saturated, but there are small groups like myself here, La Raza Insurance, you know, that we're trying to build a better community, a community that hasn't been heard for a long time. We're still small. So what would you say to those leaders that are out there to look back on the smaller communities here?
Oh my gosh. My mind's going all over the place with that question, because I feel hopefully people can bring it back to the basics, you know.
Are you listening, leaders? Back to the basics.
Talk to your community and get engaged, because I think people are getting fed up with not feeling represented, that, you know, the person is out there in some other land and we're here forgotten. So I think working across aisles, I mean, local with state with federal, and all the way back down to, just talk to each other. Forget party, forget, borders and lines, forget all the things. I think talking to each other, I think we'll always find some solutions.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. You heard it all. So anyways, we thank you guys so much for listening to our first. I am so honored that you chose to have to be in our podcast as the first episode, and many more to come. And I hope to have you in many more. Not just you, but many other leaders that can basically get naked with their community. And so we can meet the heart of the person, and not so much the one that's driving out there. But a lot of the times we need to know that there is a heart, and there is a beautiful heart in you, Rachel. So thank you so much for letting us be or share this part of you, and we'll see you later. Thank you guys. And my co-founder today, she is back she's the one doing all the little things behind doors, but she'll be back. We'll see you later, guys. Thank you.